Hey guys, it's Christine, also known as Ivy Winter. Thanks for joining me for another Disney video. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about some news that came in that Disney is going to be creating their own version of Uber in Disney World. What does this mean? This means that they are going to have their own drivers and their own sort of cab riding system that will take people from park to park, park to resort, resort to park, etc. And this has been a long running rumor for a while, but it was just fairly confirmed. They haven't outright announced it, but there's news that they are going to be implementing it as soon as the end of this month and giving it a test run. I don't know what the name of it is going to be. I don't know if they've talked about a name for it yet. I'm sure they'll come up with something clever, as they always do. But I just found this really interesting because Uber it has become a way that I've gotten around, not just in Disney, but in New York City. You know, living here, it is not easy to get around. Even though we have public transit, the way our public transit system is laid out is like basically when you leave Manhattan, you're kind of screwed if you're in certain areas of Queens, Brooklyn, Bronx, whatever. So taking an Uber tends to just be easier. It's easier to have a car come to you than to flag one down. You know, there's a variety of reasons. It used to be cheaper, not so much anymore, but it used to be cheaper than yellow taxi cabs. And I use it a lot in Disney World because it actually is pretty cheap. You know, especially comparatively to New York, like you can go a certain distance in Florida for like $4 and then here that would cost you like 12. So to me, it's like amazing when I go down there and it's so cheap. But the thing that I find with Uber, and this is not just Disney World, but in general, is that a lot of these drivers are new drivers, as in either they just got their licenses not long ago, or maybe they've just moved to a state and this is the job that they've taken to make some money, and they don't know the area. And Uber allows them to really just follow their GPS, right? When you request an Uber, it finds you via GPS, and then, you know, your phone tells you the route that they're gonna take, and they're seeing the same thing. So I've hopped into cabs before that have given a certain route on GPS, and sometimes I'll say like, oh, I think if we go over this bridge or do this, it might actually be faster, or there might be less traffic, and I'll have drivers say like, oh no, I'm just gonna follow the GPS, because they don't know New York or they don't know Disney World. You know, we've had situations where we've taken Ubers in Disney World and they have taken us the completely wrong way. More than once, I have had Uber GPS take us off property, and I've been like, wait a minute, we just passed the Walt Disney World sign. This is not the way we wanna go. And they get all flustered and say, well, that's what the GPS said. And it's tough if they don't know the area. And again, like if they're new, they might not know the area. So, you know, I can see how that could be really difficult. But it also becomes a problem for the rider. I mean, the last time Rob and I went down, we took a cab to Hollywood Studios, I think it was. I can't remember why we specifically did that, but we did. And the guy, the GPS had him go in the cast member entrance, like the parking lot they go to when they're going to work. And so when we got to the booth, we were like, oh, this is not normal. We don't know what to say to the guy. And the cast member who was like at the parking lot booth kind of almost like made fun of him. I mean, like, I think she's seen this a ton of times before. And she said, you know, did you read the signs? Did you see where you're going? And he said, well, but the GPS. And, you know, I understand that GPSs are generally good, but sometimes they make mistakes. And so you need people who can understand the park layout. And so I think to avoid that frustration, Disney doing their own Uber is actually a really good idea. So from what I've read, you have to have had a Florida driver's license for 3 years. And you have to have been a cast member for at least a year. And what they are hoping is that not only will these drivers get you where you need to go, but they will also be able to answer questions along the way. Now that is a huge plus, because Uber drivers just get you where they gotta go. They're not helping you with your vacation. They're not gonna know answers to anything. So having a driver that while they're driving you to the Magic Kingdom can tell you how FastPass works, can tell you about the express bus service, can maybe help you out with questions like, when is the 3 o'clock parade? Just saying. you know, having a driver that has the knowledge of the parks is like really essential. So not only for just getting around and not getting lost, but also for being able to be a guide basically while they're driving you. So I'm interested to see how this pans out. Will I try it? Totally, because like I said, I'm a big Uber user. It's really hard to get from resort to resort without resorting to a cab. So if you're going to a dinner somewhere else, you have to either cab it or take like a bus or a boat or whatever to the parks and then to your resort, depending. I mean, some boats go resort to resort, but 90% of the time, you don't have an easy mode of transportation between resorts. So that'll be really awesome to see that and to see what they provide. I'm interested in what their prices are gonna be. I feel like they're gonna have to be competitive with Uber because I don't really see people paying a premium for it. Maybe if like their drivers are phenomenal and they know everything and they're like singing Disney songs in there with you, I mean maybe, but I still feel like they need to be competitive because they are otherwise not just competing against Uber, but they're competing against their own free transportation, which is the buses and the boats and all of that. And some people would sooner take the 20 extra minutes to take a free ride, you know, a bus to a park to a resort, rather than pay for a cab. So it's got to be competitive in some sort of way. But I'm really interested to see what they're going to do. I'd like to hear what you think about Disney having their own Uber service in Disney World. Does it make sense? Do you think it's just another cash grab? What do you think they're gonna call it? I'd love to know in the comments below. If you like this video and you want to see more like it, please subscribe. And if you like this video, just like it, because that's always awesome. And yeah, thanks for joining me for another Disney video. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and have a great rest of the day. Bye.